Welcome, medical coders, billing specialists, and audit professionals. You know you've really made it. I am absolutely thrilled to welcome you to the 15th and final capstone explainer of our masterclass series. You've put in the hours, you've studied the guidelines, and today? Well, today the whole shebang culminates right here.
We are celebrating a massive journey today. Together, we've navigated everything from the fundamental bones and rotator cuff muscles of the shoulder anatomy all the way into the deep, complex trenches of advanced NCCI unbundling rules. So, for our grand finale, we are setting our ultimate mission. We're taking all 14 previous modules and putting them into practice. We are going to audit a complex, real-world surgical operative report, and then you're going to face the final comprehensive mastery quiz. Mission go.
Consider this your final mission briefing. We've got Phase 1, which is our case background. Phase 2 is the surgical audit. Phase 3 is final code assembly. And Phase 4 is your mastery quiz.
Okay, kicking things off with Phase 1, case background.
Let's get right into the clinical intel. We have a 68-year-old female presenting with worsening right shoulder pain. Her preoperative diagnosis shows a full-thickness supraspinatus tear. And remember, that's one of our 4 absolutely critical rotator cuff muscles. She's also dealing with chronic impingement and biceps tendinopathy. Crucially, when we're thinking about medical necessity, she has already failed conservative injection therapies. So, the stage is totally set.
Moving right along to Phase 2, the surgical audit.
We're going to use a think aloud process to methodically break down the surgeon's narrative step by step. Scanning the operative report, the surgeon begins with, diagnostic arthroscopy was performed, showing low-grade partial thickness tearing of the upper border of the subscapularis and mild to moderate biceps tendinopathy. Now, this initial diagnostic scope sets our baseline findings, but remember our golden rules. A diagnostic scope is almost always bundled if a surgical scope follows. So let's see what happens next.
Now here is where it gets really juicy. The note says arthroscopic biter used to perform a biceps tenotomy at the superior labrum. Arthroscopic shaver used to perform debridement. As an auditor, specific tools like the biter and shaver are absolutely critical triggers on our coding radar. Action is being taken, and tissues are actually being removed and released. And this next part brilliantly illustrates the exact documentation we are always hunting for. The surgeon notes a CA ligament release, and then specifically states, arthroscopic burr used to perform a subacromial decompression and to decorticate the greater tuberosity footprint. Why is this so exciting? Because the phrase arthroscopic burr used is literally our golden ticket justification for subacromial decompression coding. Without documentation of actual bone work, there's just no way we can code it.
Finally, the surgeon moves to the repair phase. Pay close attention to the specific materials used here. They note 2.6 mm fiber tack suture anchors placed, incorporating the proximal biceps tendon into the repair. That right there indicates our arthroscopic tenodesis. Plus, they deployed a medium bovine Achilles bioinductive implant. So keep your focus completely locked on that double row anchor fixation, the tenodesis, and the biological augmentation implant.
Before we start assigning any codes, let's just take a breath and summarize the 4 major surgical progression steps we just extracted from that operative note. 1. The diagnostic scope. 2. The biceps tenotomy and subscapularis debridement. 3. The subacromial decompression with acromioplasty using a burr. And 4. The final anchor fixation and biceps tenodesis.
All right, it's time for Phase 3, final code assembly.
Let's apply our NCCI guidelines and build a clean, accurate, and completely compliant claim together. Our primary status goes to CPT 29827 for the arthroscopic rotator cuff repair, and we'll append that with the RT modifier for the right shoulder. Next, our secondary code is 29828 for the arthroscopic biceps tenodesis, also with the RT modifier. And finally, our add-on code is plus 29826 for the subacromial decompression. We can confidently report that one because we explicitly found the documented burr work on the bone.
So, while knowing what to code is great, the really crucial point is understanding what we didn't code. According to NCCI unbundling rules, the diagnostic scope is totally inclusive to the surgical scope. The debridement of those partial tears, the initial biceps tenotomy, and the fixation of that bioinductive implant are all bundled right into the comprehensive primary repair codes 29827 and 29828. We do not code them separately. Doing so would be a major compliance violation, and we definitely want to avoid that.
And now, the moment you've been waiting for. Phase 4, the Mastery Quiz.
You've audited the chart, you've built the claim, so let's test your ultimate coding reflexes. Question 1. The clock is ticking. An arthroscopic biceps tenotomy and a rotator cuff tear repair are performed during the exact same session. What is the final CPT code assignment? Lock in your answer based on those NCCI debridement rules we just discussed. 3, 2, 1.
The answer is A, CPT 29827. Remember, a tenotomy gets completely swallowed up by the primary cuff repair. When you repair the rotator cuff, any incidental debridements and tenotomies happening right in that same anatomical region are inclusive.
Let's keep the pace punchy. Question 2 presents a pretty tricky scenario. What is the CPT code for an isolated arthroscopic biceps tenotomy? Meaning that is literally the only major thing the surgeon did. What's your verdict?
The answer is B, CPT 29822. Without a large apparent procedure, like a cuff repair or a tenodesis to bundle into, an isolated tenotomy just defaults to a limited debridement code.
Moving right along to question 3. Let's test your add-on code rules. What CPT code is reported if the physician performs subacromial decompression alone without a primary parent procedure? Think about the rules for code 29826.
And the answer is D, CPT 29822 again. This is a strict, completely non-negotiable rule. The add-on code plus 29826 can never stand alone. If it's the only procedure performed, NCCI guidelines advise you to default straight to the debridement code 29822 or 29823 depending on the extent.
Okay, question 4. I'm throwing a real curveball here to test your knowledge of advanced, non-standard procedures. What CPT code is reported for an arthroscopic superior capsular reconstruction, or ASCR, for an irreparable supraspinatus tear? The answer is C, CPT 29999. Listen, medicine moves fast, and sometimes the code book just hasn't caught up yet. Because there isn't a specific dedicated CPT code for an ASCR just yet, we must default to the unlisted arthroscopy procedure code and send in the operative report for manual review.
All right, here we are, the final question, testing your grasp of inclusive definitive procedures. What CPT code is reported when an arthroscopic biceps tenotomy is performed, along with an arthroscopic biceps tenodesis? Make your final choice.
The answer is B, CPT 29282. The initial cutting of the tendon is completely inclusive to the definitive anchoring of the tendon. And with that, huge congratulations on your official graduation from this 15-part explainer series. You now have the ultimate tools to audit with complete confidence. But before we go, I want you to ask yourself a question. As surgical robotics and AI charting evolve, how will our coding guidelines adapt to keep pace? The rules will undoubtedly change, but your critical auditing eye will always remain your greatest asset. Keep up the ongoing diligence, and thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey. Decode Healthcare with Harshal.